Have you ever, like, I don't know, come across a story that seems so out there you kind of got to stop and think, wait, really?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
But then you see other people and they're totally buying it. It's fascinating, right?
Totally.
And that's what we're going to get into today. We're diving into the whole world of conspiracy theories.
Okay, cool.
You sent me some super interesting stuff to look at, articles about how our brains work, how misinformation goes viral.
Right.
And I gotta say, it's kind of wild to see the patterns.
It's really relevant, with everything going on, all the information thrown at us.
Totally.
But it's amazing when you really dig into the research, how some of those basic psychological things are the same, even if the theories themselves change over time.
Right, exactly. So just so we're all on the same page, when we say conspiracy theory, we're talking about those beliefs that there are powerful groups, often working in secret, who are in control, right?
Yeah.
And they're pulling the strings behind the scenes, usually for some pretty bad reasons. Yeah. And the thing is, they often don't have a lot of strong evidence to back them up. It's more about speculation, connecting dots that maybe shouldn't be connected, and just not trusting any official explanations.
That's really important to point out, I think. It's not about, being a healthy skeptic asking questions. Those are good things.
Right.
This is different. Conspiracy theories like we're talking about go way beyond that. They say huge events are caused by these hidden bad actors.
Right.
Without really having the evidence you'd expect for something so big.
Exactly. And the range of these theories is crazy.
Yeah.
You've got everything from, the earth is flat, which, come on, it's hard to even imagine.
Right.
All the way to those really widespread beliefs about, like, vaccines having microchips or secret societies running the world.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them sound ridiculous, but they can be surprisingly convincing, right?
Oh, for sure.
And they can actually influence a lot of people.
Totally.
So what we want to do today is unpack all of that. We want to look at the psychology, why these ideas are so attractive to some people,
Yeah.
how social media spreads them around like crazy, and ultimately give you some tools to think about information more critically.
Yeah, I think that's so important. It's like not just about debunking this or that theory.
Right.
It's about thinking better in general, about all kinds of information.
Okay, so let's start with, how do we know if something is a conspiracy theory? We talked about secret control, bad intentions. What else makes a belief a conspiracy theory?
Well, the big thing, I think, is that there isn't strong evidence.
Yeah.
Real, verifiable evidence.
Yeah.
People who believe these theories might point to strange things or unanswered questions.
Yeah.
But they often just see what they want to see.
Right.
They connect things that maybe aren't actually connected. And there's almost always a distrust of official explanations.
Makes sense.
And it's interesting. If you try to debunk the theory to show it's not true, they might even see that as proof of the conspiracy.
Whoa. So it's like the more you push back, the more they dig in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like a knot that gets tighter. And it's important to remember there's a whole spectrum here.
Yeah.
Some of these beliefs might seem pretty harmless, like they're just thinking differently.
Right.
But others can have some seriously bad effects on the world.
Totally. Okay, so now for the really interesting part. What is it about our brains that makes these theories so appealing? Why are some people drawn to them?
Well, one big thing is that we need to feel in control. Like, things make sense. Think about it. When something big and scary happens, a pandemic, a crash in the economy, political stuff,
Yeah.
it can feel like total chaos.
Right.
And conspiracy theories come along and say, hey, here's the answer, here's why this is happening, even if it's not really the truth.
It's like when everything feels shaky, we want something solid to hold on to, even if it's not really there.
Exactly. We need to feel like we understand, especially when things are scary or confusing. And that ties into the next thing. We want simple explanations. The truth is, most things are complicated, right?
Yeah.
There are lots of reasons things happen.
Yeah.
But conspiracy theories come along and say, it's this group doing this bad thing, and it makes things seem much easier to grasp. It's like us versus them.
It's like we prefer a simple sketch to a detailed painting, even if the painting is closer to reality.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And then there's the whole thing about mistrusting authority. I think we've all seen that growing in recent years.
Oh, definitely. Like not trusting the government, scientists, the media.
Exactly. And when people feel like those institutions aren't being honest or are even trying to trick them,
Yeah.
they're much more likely to look for other explanations, and that's where conspiracy theories fit right in.
So if you already think you can't trust the official story, a conspiracy theory that backs that up can be really appealing, even if it's not based on much.
Yeah. It just confirms what they already believe. And then there's our brains, we're wired to look for patterns, to connect the dots. That helped us survive for a long time, but it can also mislead us.
How so?
Well, we might see connections between things that are just random, or we might think something caused something else when it didn't.
Ah, I see.
And conspiracy theories use that. They point to little things that seem connected, but aren't really.
It's like our brains are always trying to solve a puzzle, even if we're using the wrong pieces.
Exactly. And then there's the social side of things. People like to feel like they're in the know, like they have special knowledge.
Oh, that makes sense.
When you believe in a conspiracy theory, it can make you feel like you have access to information that most people don't. You're special. You're part of a select group.
Right, like you've figured something out that others haven't. It's a kind of belonging.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about what's going on in our heads. Now let's look at how these beliefs spread so fast. Social media has totally changed the game here, right?
Definitely. Like way more than just word of mouth.
For sure. The internet, and especially those social media platforms, have changed how information travels. It's so much faster. And there are a few ways this happens. One is what's called echo chambers, or filter bubbles.
I've heard those terms, but break that down for me. What exactly are those?
Think about what happens when you're online.
Okay.
Places like YouTube, Facebook, they use these algorithms that are basically trying to show you stuff you'll like.
Right.
Based on what you've clicked on before. So if you start watching or reading about conspiracy theories,
Yeah.
the algorithm might start showing you more and more of that kind of stuff.
I can see how that would happen.
And then your whole feed is just one viewpoint. You don't see other sides of the story or facts that might challenge those beliefs.
So you're basically just hearing the same things over and over again, and it makes it seem like everyone agrees.
Exactly. And because of that, misinformation spreads like wildfire. Fake news, altered pictures, videos taken out of context, it all goes viral really fast. And they often play on people's fears and emotions, making them want to share it even more. So those conspiracy theories look way more popular and believable than they really are.
Right, because you see it shared by tons of people you know, and you think, well, there must be something to it.
Exactly. And what's really tricky is when people try to debunk these things online to show they're not true.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work.
I've noticed that. It's like sometimes it makes people believe even more.
Right. And it's because a lot of times people who believe in conspiracy theories, they see those debunking efforts as part of the conspiracy itself.
Wow.
It's like, see, they're trying to hide the truth, so it makes it super hard to change their minds.
It's like trying to convince someone they're dreaming when they're sure they're awake.
Yeah.
All right, so we've seen what makes people believe these things and how easily they spread online. But why should we care? What are the real-world effects of all this?
Well, the impacts can be huge. Let's take public health.
Okay.
Those conspiracy theories about vaccines, they're a big example. They've caused some people to not vaccinate. And that's led to outbreaks of diseases that we could have prevented.
That's scary.
It really is. It's not just an idea. It affects real people's health. And then there's the political side of things. Conspiracy theories about elections or what the government's doing.
Yeah.
They make people distrust those institutions. And that's not good for democracy. It divides people and can even lead to unrest.
It feels like we're seeing that more and more. It's like people can't agree on what's true anymore.
Exactly. And sometimes it goes even further. Some conspiracy theories can lead to actual violence.
Really?
Yeah. Like that QAnon stuff where they believe there's this evil group doing terrible things.
I've heard about that.
It's been linked to actual crimes, even attacks.
Wow, that's intense. It's not just talk online, it's affecting real life in dangerous ways.
Right. So what can we do about it? How do we think more critically about all this information so we don't fall for these theories?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Well, the key is to be proactive. When you see something, don't just accept it. Look for evidence.
Yeah.
What proof is there? Is it based on real facts and data, research, stuff like that? Or is it just speculation and feelings?
That makes sense, but I think it can be tough sometimes, especially if the information plays on your emotions or it confirms something you already believe.
I agree. It takes effort to really think critically, and it's really important to pay attention to the source of the information.
Okay.
Where is this coming from? Is it a reliable news source, a respected institution, or is it some random website or social media account?
So we should be asking who's saying this and why?
Exactly. And another good question is who benefits from this?
What do you mean?
Well, conspiracy theories often point to some bad guys, right?
Right.
But think about who actually gains from people believing this theory.
Ah, okay.
Maybe it's someone who wants us to distrust institutions or who wants to divide us.
That's a good point. It's like looking beyond the surface.
Exactly. And finally, and this might be the most important part, be humble.
Humble.
Yeah. Be open to the idea that you might be wrong.
That can be hard.
It is. But if we're not willing to change our minds when we see new evidence, we can get stuck believing things that aren't true.
I get it. So we've talked about a lot today, from why people believe these theories to how they spread, the problems they cause, and how to think more critically.
It's fascinating, really. Even though the theories change over time, the reasons people believe them are often the same.
Right, exactly. So while it's normal to look for patterns and explanations, especially when things are uncertain,
Right.
we need to be skeptical to think things through.
Absolutely.
That's how we make good decisions and don't fall for things that aren't true.
I think it all comes down to always being curious, always asking questions, and always trying to learn more. And this brings up something for you, the listener, to think about. Can you remember a time when you believed something without much evidence? Why did you believe it? What need did it fulfill for you? And how did you finally figure out if it was actually true? Thinking about our own biases and how much we like simple answers, that's the first step to being smarter about the information we consume.
That's a great question to leave everyone with. Thanks so much for being here today. This has been really eye-opening.
It's been my pleasure. This is such an important conversation to have.
I totally agree.